So, I was looking at your biography. What's the timeline on your story? When did you? How long ago was it that you were transforming that $1,000 loan into a $1 billion real estate?
I got the $1,000 loan when I was 23, when I was waitressing at the diner, and so I'm not going to tell you how old I am. I'm old, let me trust you. But it took me probably the first business 7 years, and then I left my boyfriend when he left me for my secretary. I left the business, I should say, and then I started the new business, and it took me 22 years to sell it for $66 million. It seemed like a long time, but a fun time.
Oh, that's not a bad return.
Considering it wasn't my money in the first place, not bad at all.
Yeah.
And I haven't given him the $1,000 because he left with my secretary.
So, a lot of questions we get. Well, there are two I want to cover in the time that we have. And first is back when you were waitressing, and you were inspired to get that loan and start doing something with it. What inspired you? Was it a eureka moment? Was it something you had been sitting on for a long time? How did that unfold?
No, not at all. I wish I could tell you that was how it happened. I had had 22 jobs already by the time I was 23. I had always worked from the time I was 11. Summers, after school, at night, whatever. I was always working. And the reason I was always working is because I was a horrific student in school and I was a miserable failure. So I had to find something where I could actually succeed at. And I really enjoyed just about every job I had. So for me, starting that real estate company was simply like, hey, I'll try it. Why not? I've tried everything else. And the minute I was in it, I knew that that job was for me. I was free. I was running around the streets of Manhattan showing apartments. It didn't feel like work. And when something doesn't feel like work, chances are you're onto something good.
And why real estate?
Real estate, because you know what? My boyfriend said to me, you'd really be good in real estate. Why? Oh, because you're really good with people. Okay, I'll try it. And most importantly, he gave me the $1,000 loan. That's what started it. If I hadn't had the loan, I probably would maybe be still at the Fort Lee Diner. Who the heck knows?
I have another question, and I think you're a great person to answer this because of your story. There's an ongoing debate on our site about whether entrepreneurs are born or whether it's behaviors learn later in life. What do you think about that?
Honestly, I think you have to be born an entrepreneur. 50% of you has to be an entrepreneur, a desire to be in control of your destiny, a hustler, a good talker, a salesman that can bring people to see life as you see it. I don't think it's about closing a deal. I think it's about you see it a certain way and people come along for that ride because you could convince them. I think you could get better at being an entrepreneur through practice, and you can learn a lot. But the best experience, of course, are the failures. You learn from the failures on what to not to do the next time, and most importantly, from the failures, you discover some new angle of what works. And so I think you have to have it in you. I've seen more people as entrepreneurs that should have never gone in business for themselves. But I've also seen mediocre entrepreneurs that it's a God-given right, and they've gotten really good at their trade because they've really worked it hard.
It sounds like you're not too impressed at the idea of college or university programs that claim to teach entrepreneurship.
Let me tell you the truth. I'm very familiar with them. I've lectured at them, and they're phenomenal schools. And like Stanford, whatever, they're phenomenal schools. But what they teach is the theory of entrepreneurship, but what they don't take into account is someone actually naturally good at it. And you want to know something? You can't teach that. You can't teach that. And one other thing about education overall, I have to say, it's a left brain kind of teaching, deductive reasoning. Entrepreneurship is about zigzagging, going in circles, going backwards, going forwards, and whatever you have to do to hit that finish line. It has nothing to do with deductive reasoning and planning. It has everything to do with reactionary drills and being smart on your feet. And that's a hard thing to learn in a classroom.
I have a list here of your tips for anyone starting a business, and your advice to stay away from complainers kind of jumps out at me. That's something we'd all like to do, but is it always that easy to recognize toxic personalities when you're around?
Yeah, you know what it is? It's not like they're sitting there whining necessarily. The dangerous ones are the undercover ones. The ones that after you finish spending 5 minutes sitting next to them or having a conversation, as you walk away, you have less energy. That's the tip-off. When you have less energy after encountering an individual, it could be a stranger on the street, You have just whacked yourself with a complainer, which is the equivalent of having somebody opening your wallet or your purse or your pocket and saying, come on in and grab my money. That's what it does in business. You can't be near complainers. And if you just get this feeling that you feel less good about yourself or you just feel less happy, you've just encountered a complainer. It's like that Harry Potter movie that what are those guys that come and go into Harry's mouth and suck out their energy in the train scene? That's what it is. I forget what those guys are called.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what a complainer is.
My wife calls a psychic vampire.
Oh, that's a great description, and that's what they are. You should get rid of them. I fired them with relish in my heart every year of my life when I spotted them, because you know what I was doing? I was saving the great people in my business from encountering them anymore. I love to fire a complainer.
What about the ones you can't fire because they're the ones you have to do business with? How do you deal with them?
A client? I don't agree with you on that. You know what I have done? I've done a study of my many salespeople over the years, people I've worked with, the new businesses I've bought into on Shark Tank, and you know what I find? I find that you can't change them. Wait, I actually forgot what your question was. Could you ask it again? I went off track. How do you...
You know, there are some complainers that you can fire because they work for you, but what about the ones...
Oh, your clients. You got to fire them. Because you know why? You've got to fire the clients and customers that are complaining and draining your energy, because they're in the way of you getting new business. And that's the truth. Every time I dropped a lemon customer in any of the business or encourage my entrepreneurs to do it, guess what? The gates open and a great one walks in. You can't tolerate that even in a client. You'll never succeed dealing with them.
It takes a leap of faith, doesn't it, especially early in the game?
You know, it takes a leap of faith, but the first time I fired my #1 producer who was producing 80% of my income revenue, or of my income in my company, I shook on my knees, and she was a chronic complainer. The minute I got rid of her, I'm telling you, God rewards you. The door opened. The next person who walked in was my new superstar. You will get rewarded if you have that leap of faith. Are you going to ask me about day-to-day things you could do?
Sure.
Okay, because I love the day-to-day because it's always overlooked. What happens is people are spending 8, 12 hours a day in their business doing a lot of stuff, feeling very productive at their desk. I say take everything you're doing at your desk, rate them A, B, or C. The A's are the ones that directly lead to more sales or gets your product to the customer. The B's are the ones that maybe don't, you're not sure, undecided. And the C's are the things that make you feel so productive that don't amount to anything so far as building a business. A great example of this would be like going to the post office, making sure your packages get out, they're packaged right, whatever. You should really be like getting an electronic shipping and mailing solution like Dymo, Indicia, and letting that happen, making it easy to use, making it affordable, and letting them do the work rather than you running to the post office. Anything you could do to save time that doesn't lead to sales is worthwhile doing in your business.
Is it a danger sign when somebody does this and everything they categorize comes up as a B?
You know what it means? It means that you've got to fill your day with productive activity. And you want to know something? What really happens, and I did it with myself, with my own charge, with my managers, with my salespeople, with my new entrepreneurs. It's an exercise we do every 3rd month. And you want to know what happens? You only have like 2 A's on the list of 15, 30 things. You got a couple of B's undecided that are actually going to turn to C next month, and then you got the rest a total waste of time that you should be delegating out to somebody else, because you know what? Even if they do it 80% is good, it's good enough. You got to focus, if you're the leader, on getting the business. You've got to be the lead dog. You've got to be the salesman.
One more question, Barbara, and then I'll go. For obvious reasons, it's a very challenging time to be an entrepreneur. What advice do you have for people who are looking ahead to the future with some trepidation right now?
They should be aware that the worst times are the best times to move ahead if you're an entrepreneur, because all of your huge rivals who have the corner on money are laying low and they're not being aggressive. They're doing the same thing they always did, and they're hoping for a change. What you can do as an entrepreneur when you're the little guy is you can create. You can out-create them. You get your idea to the market much faster. You are in the speedboat. They're in the large luxury liner that takes 2 years to make the turn. You know what? You have a license to kill in a down market because the whole universe is open to anything that's new, and they'll actually give it a try. There's no better time to move the business ahead than the down market. It's always where I went from 15th position to 6th position, always in bad times. In good times, I couldn't compete because everybody had so much money, they buried me. But in the bad times, that's the time the sun shines for the entrepreneur. That's the time you move ahead.
Great. Well, it looks like our time is up, so I'll let you go.
It just went like that.
Yeah.
Don't forget, you get a lot of information, if you don't mind me saying, at daimoandisha.com as well as barbaracorcoran.com.
Great, I'll check those out. And thank you so much for your time.
Thanks.